Good day. Welcome to Yoga Sutra 1-1. This is the very first sutra of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And if you haven't already had a chance to grab a worksheet that goes with this sutra, please visit the blog post to grab the associated worksheet so that you can follow along, take good notes, and be able to study this stuff and practice chanting the Yoga Sutras as we move forward. Let me let you hear how it sounds when you chant it. It goes like this. Atha yoga nushasanam. I'm going to try to keep these videos around 10 minutes or so, or less, hopefully. Some of them are a little bit longer than others, but I want it to be as swift as possible so that we don't spend a whole lot of time on it and you can go practice and study. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's talk about a few things first before we go into the word-for-word meanings of this. I just let you listen to me chant this sutra. I want to talk about the sounds of some of the consonants and vowels here, okay? Because this is transliterated Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a spoken language and it's written in Devanagari script, but this is the transliteration, to write it in Roman script so that we can understand it, being English speakers in the West. All right. So I have these A's circled. The first A has no mark over it, and you'll notice the second circled A has a horizontal line over it. The first A is pronounced The second A with the horizontal line over it is pronounced like shut and mom. Okay, very important. Also, if you look at the S's, you'll notice that one S has a mark over it and the other one doesn't. Well, the one that does not have a mark over it is pronounced like the typical S sound that we're used to. But the S with the mark over it is pronounced SH, as in the word shift or ship or shower or shaft or whatever, right? The typical SH sound. Now, there is a third SH sound, but it was not included in this sutra, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you anyway so that when we do encounter it, you'll already be familiar with it. But it's an S with a dot beneath it. Okay, and the dot beneath it makes it, we call it a retroflex. And what we're doing is we're curling the tongue to touch the roof of our mouth toward the back of our mouth. So it's actually an SH sound, but you have to place your tongue right. So, okay, it's like the SH sound, placing the tip of the tongue toward the roof of the mouth in the back. All right, so we have three different S sounds. We have S as in sun, sh as in shift, and sh as in usher. Okay, so we have S, sh, s, s, sh. Hear the difference? All right, moving right along. Now, in your notes, you'll also notice, along with space to write the word-for-word translations down, you also have a place to jot down these marks. And these marks help us know whether or not to chant a high note, a low note, or a middle note. Okay, so on your worksheet, notice that I have the Yoga Sutra transliteration equals, and then I give you this, right? Atha yoga nushasanam. Go ahead and make sure you write these red marks down in your notes for future reference so that when you practice, you have something easy to refer to. Okay, but the horizontal line underneath a vowel means it's going to be a low note, and we call that anudata. Okay, the vertical line above a vowel, udata, is letting us know that it's a high note. And when you don't see a mark on it, then it's a middle note, or what we call a reference note, swarita, okay, or swarita. So listen to me again when I chant this sutra and follow along looking at the special marks called swaras, okay? Atha yoga nushasanam. Can you hear my voice fluctuating from low to middle to high to middle to low to middle? Listen again and follow along. Atha yoga nushasanam. All right, that's how we chant it. And these are the special marks that we place in our notes to let us know the note, the melody, right? The rhythm. Because I should also say this, when you look at the first A with no horizontal line over it, it's a short vowel. The A with a long note over it, we tend to hold that slightly longer, right? So it's atha yoga nushasanam. And you'll notice the O is also a long vowel, right? So we hold those slightly longer. So anyway, we'll learn more about that as we move forward. I thought I would splash that out there to you right now. Before we go much further, though, I want to kind of back up and mention the TH here in atha, okay? The TH is not typically pronounced like we're used to as English speakers in the West, right? We see words like throw or thoughts or through. We don't have that TH sound in Sanskrit, okay? So this is a T and a H, excuse me. So we have a, ta, and the H lets us know that it's an aspirate. When you see an H behind a consonant, it's an aspirate. And when you have an aspirate, that lets us know that there's gonna be an explosion of air, right? We're gonna blow. So it's a, ta. Can you hear it? It's not a, ta, it's a, ta. So we're blowing out. It's not atha. Just like we often hear people refer to hatha yoga. It's not hatha yoga, it's hatha yoga. Okay, so there's an interesting tidbit for you. Okay, moving right along. Again, make sure you write those marks down in your notes so you have easy reference as you move forward and study and practice. I'm going to say it one more time, and we're going to then move on to the word for word breakdown of this sutra. So we have atha yoga nushasanam. All right, what does atha mean? Atha means now, or an auspicious beginning, because now is all there is. Nothing else exists but this present moment. That's why we call it a present moment, because this is the gift, right? Whatever happened 30 seconds ago, 30 days ago, 30 weeks ago, that's in the past. We can recall it to the best of our ability, but it no longer exists. We've moved through that moment, okay? And whatever is coming in the next 5 minutes or 5 days, that's in the future. That's imaginary. So that doesn't exist. Yoga is about the here and the now. Like, how do we connect ourselves to this present moment and be fully in tune with what's going on, right? How do we fully bring or activate our senses so that we can just tap into this moment without, any distraction? That's what yoga is all about. And it's difficult because we live in a very stimulating world. We have stimulation coming from everywhere. So to be totally connected and not distracted is a huge challenge, which is why yoga is so valuable. Or atha is an auspicious beginning. It's all of that, really, right? Atha, an auspicious beginning, because now is when it starts. Every successive moment is now. Any moment that we've gone through and we're done with, it's over, that's in the past, right? So this is an auspicious beginning, and there's a continuity of this auspicious beginning that moves from one moment to the next. So atha is very special. And that's what we're talking about, a special beginning. And atha yoga nushasanam, yoga is the next word. Yoga means union or a process of yoga. I mean, like I said, I say or, but it's really all of these things. We just have to pay attention to the context and, try to have a holistic view of these things so that we can really apply the whole word to whatever context we might encounter, right? So union, process of yoking. when you think about a farmer who is, you know, out there plowing the field and he has a pair of oxen, well, to help him plow the field, the oxen have a device over their necks called a yoke. And the yoke is there to join the oxen, but also to help steer the oxen. And you got to remember how incredibly powerful these oxen are. They're strong as all outdoors. Okay. And that's like the mind. You know, we have all these activities of our mind, and when we can yoke them, when we can join them together and focus them or steer them in the same direction, our minds become incredibly powerful. And that's what yoga is all about. Union, bringing it all together to one, not fractured or in multiple parts, but one. And we even see one in the word union, uni, O-N, right? Union, one. That's what yoga is all about. And then we have Anushasanam. Anushasanam, I like to think of this word as meaning experiential teaching, but I hear a lot of authors and different teachers explain Anushasanam as an explanation or an exposition, discourse, expounding, or whatever. But when I think about this whole sutra in the context of itself, I listen to the word atta, right? Now is all there is. And even when we think about the word know, like to know something or not know something, the K is silent, K-N-O-W, because in now is embedded in that, because now is all we can ever know. And I think about the experience, right? We have to be fully in tune to the present so we can experience it wholly and be aware of the now, right? That's our teacher if we're very present. But the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali can also be thought of as an exposition explaining this process and what yoga is. And we're going to talk about that over the next several sutras. But, you know, I want to take a moment also to, and I went back and added this into your notes, but I want to break down this word Anushasanam so you can see where I'm coming from with my reason for going with experiential teaching, because life is our greatest guru. You know, it's the experience that we live that teaches us most if we're willing to reflect on our experiences and learn the lessons along the way. But when you look at the first part of Anushasanam, Anu, it means a minute atom or the most indivisible part. So we're talking about something very tiny, so tiny that it can't be broken down any further. Okay? And then Shas means to instruct. And then, whoops, went a little too far. Then asana. And see, and that's what yoga, well, I should say that's what people call yoga in the West. There are 8 limbs of yoga. Asana is the 3rd limb of yoga. And that's what people in the West typically call yoga when there's so much more to yoga. And that's, again, why we're doing this Yoga Sutra journey with right here. But asana, it means seat, posture, the way we move through the environment, right? How we move our body, how we navigate the space or the terrain in which we live. That's asana, right? But going back to that first bullet, seat, like how we're positioned, because we are positioned wherever we are, and we can only see things from the angle that we see things. Right, so we're seated where we are, and that's the perspective from which we have to observe or perceive, and that limits us in a lot of ways unless we open up, right? We gather experience along the way, and we can see that, okay, even though I'm looking from this angle, when I was sitting over there, I saw something else, right? So the seat, the position is really important, but also asana. And this can go, you can take this to the mat, but we are training ourselves to become very comfortable in these very awkward positions, right? These weird postures, so that wherever we're seated, we can be comfortable, because when we're comfortable, we can fully attend and not be distracted by any discomforts, right? Notice, anytime we go in life, when we are uncomfortable, the discomfort tends to distract us, and we notice, oh, I'm not comfortable. So we want to cultivate comfort. And that's why asana, on the mat. But when you think about it in the context of this sutra, it goes way beyond the mat. So we're talking about wherever we're seated in life, because it's not always comfortable wherever we find ourselves positioned. Okay. And before I share with you my overall translation of this sutra, now that we're moving beyond the word for word translations, I want to say this. It's said that if a person can fully and deeply understand this very first sutra, then they don't need to study the rest of the sutras. So I encourage you to really contemplate this meaning. But I also want you to move forward so that we can explore the other sutras, because I'm telling you, this is really heavy and deep material that is going to benefit whoever studies it and practices it, because this is very practical and more relevant today than ever. All right, here's my overall translation. Atha, now, yoga nushasanam, now begins the experiential teaching of yoga, union, or the process of yoking, bringing things together into a whole unit. Okay, now begins the experiential teaching of yoga. Now that we're done discussing this, I want to point you back to the blog post where I have shared with you the interpretations of this sutra from 7 other authors, renowned. A couple of them you may be familiar with, namely TKV Desikachar and Iyengar. These 2 were students of one of the people who was very influential or very integral in the movement of yoga to the West. And the reason why we see it today is because of a few people, primarily. I mean, it's not just these 3, but I'm going to call these 3 out. But TKV Desikachar, Iyengar, and Pattabhi Jois. All right. Krishnamacharya was the teacher of those 3 people. And 2 of those are authors on my blog post that broke this sutra down, and they explain it in their own way. All right. And I want to really point you back to that. And so you can see that everybody's seated from where they're sitting, and we all look through our own lens. We all bring our own baggage that colors the way we see things. Therefore, everyone can uniquely interpret this slightly differently. And you'll see that when you go back and look at the authors that give their translation of this sutra. They're slightly different. I say that because what if you had a teacher who, puts their own spin on it, and you just take their word for it, and you never know what the words mean in the Yoga Sutras? This is why I encourage people to know the word for word breakdown of the sutra, and then to translate the whole sutra in your own words. And I also provided space for you on your worksheet to do that. I want you to, look at the words with the word for word breakdown, contemplate what you think it means, really go and review what these 7 authors think this or translate this as, along with mine. Mine makes number 8. And then I want you to think about, okay, how would you put this into your own words? How would you put this into your own words? And I want you to write it down, because when we write it down, we force ourselves to come up with a coherent way of explaining something. And then we get to pick and choose which words we think fit best. And we can cross words out and erase them and replace them with new words as we become clearer. And that's what it's all about, right? Polishing our lens, our mind. That's yoga, right? Using all the faculties of our mind to fully attend so that we can be completely present. Anyway, that's it for this sutra. I've probably gone on a little longer than I will in the coming sutras, but I hope this was useful. And I can't wait to see you on the next sutra. Have an awesome day.